What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Scream video. So with Scream 6 releasing this past weekend, I've already done my spoiler-free review. I have already gone way in depth with this film, twice actually. One video for Patreon, one video for everybody else. It is now time to talk about the whole franchise. All 6 films ranked worst to best. And just as I said, I think the 2 previous times that I have ranked this franchise, I don't think there's a single bad entry. Of all of the 6, there is not one of them, as of right now, that I would give a negative review to. The lowest I would go is 3 out of 5 for my number 6, and beyond that, it just goes up from there. I used to say Scream and Child's Play were the 2 most consistent quality slasher franchises. Now I pretty much just say it's Scream. Sorry, Chucky, I love you. But yeah, this is a damn good quality and consistent slasher franchise, and so goes without saying that I recommend all these movies, and so whether or not it's my least favorite, my favorite, these are all pretty damn solid, pretty damn entertaining. And there's 3 films in this ranking, 3 of the 6 that I gave the exact same numeric rating to. So you ask me today, the ranking looks as it does. You ask me tomorrow, things might shift a little bit. And while all of us viewers haven't necessarily been fighting off mass killers for the past 30 years, all of us eventually will be fighting off the effects of bad skincare. So before we dive into all 6 films, let's talk about Geology, the brand that I have partnered with on today's sponsorship. No matter what they say about us movie nerds, I have always had a huge focus on hygiene, like body care and hair care. I mean, you think this dude gets this way by itself? But as I've gotten older, skincare has grown to be so much more important and crucial than it was when I was younger. And that's why I'm excited to partner today with Geology, a men's skincare company that has been by far the best products that I have used in regards to skincare, and they've just jumped into body care and hair care as well. Geology is a 6-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company with over 6,000 5-star reviews. They create simple and effective skincare and hair care routines customized just for you. Their products are built around just a handful of powerful proven ingredients that have been trusted by dermatologists for decades. Because skincare is science and shouldn't feel like a gamble. Geology Skincare helps you fight acne, reduce oiliness, prevent wrinkles, combat dark and puffy under eyes, have smoother hydrated skin, and target signs of aging. And now the best in the skincare game has expanded their reach into hair care and body care with co-washes, shampoos, conditioners, body washes, deodorants, and much more. And so far, I have had a great experience with both the body washes that I got as well as the different deodorants. This stuff lathers up like crazy. It leaves you smelling great and feeling clean. And you have not had a true man until you've had one that smells like eucalyptus. Just click the link in the video description and take their 30-second diagnostic quiz. Tell them about your skin and your goals, and a team of dermatologists will design a personalized routine just for you that is shipped directly to your door. And right now, for a limited time, Geology is hooking you up with an insane offer. Use my code CODY70 or scan the QR code on the screen, and they will give you an exclusive 70% off of their award-winning skincare trial set. That's over $150 in products for just 15 bucks. On top of that, they are giving you an exclusive bonus offer on one of their brand new skin, hair, and body products of your choice when you add it to your trial. So take charge of your skin, body, and hair today by using Geology. That's Geologie. And thank you to Geology for partnering with me on today's sponsorship. So coming in at number 6, a movie that I still enjoy, a movie that I would still recommend, but for me is still easily the least awesome of all of these films. It's going to be Scream 3. Now, if Scream 3 is the worst film in your franchise, you got a pretty damn good solid track record there. But there's a lot of elements to this movie that just don't really have the same impact or are executed as well as the other films on this list, in my opinion. Going to Hollywood, getting away from kind of the suburbs and the college setting of 2, you know, it ramps up kind of the meta nature of the film because they're on set of Stab 3, I believe, which is going back to the settings of the original movie, of Stab and Scream. There's so many layers here, but you have all these cast of actors that are playing all of the characters from the original Scream film, and so it's just all this crazy little meta comedic nature to it. All of the performances of the actors, in particular Parker Posey, are played for kind of comedic over-the-top effect. It works better for some than it does for others. Sometimes I enjoy it, sometimes it's a little bit annoying. While I think that Sydney is still badass in this, Courtney Cox as Gail, not a whole lot going on here other than the fact that she just keeps riffing back and forth with Parker Posey. Dewey, again, a character that I didn't quite endear myself to until Scream 5. Never been one of my favorites, and he's still kind of the doofy character here. And while I have said this for pretty much all of the Scream films, I don't think that the kills are that much of a standout here. I don't think they're particularly creative, and for all of the dialogue we continuously get throughout most of these films about how they're going to ramp things up and how the killer's going for more blood and more gore, there's really only one film in this franchise I think actually delivers on that, and it's not Scream 3. But on the positive side, it's still a very fun, entertaining movie. It still has very interesting, creative things to do with the meta nature of Scream. I think it goes a little too far here, but it's still fun to watch, still fun to kind of dive into. Like I said, Sydney is awesome. The third act of this film, I think, is absolutely kick-ass. The movie director of Stab 3 turning out to be Ghostface is kind of lame, but once you get like all the deeper meaning behind that, with him being the long lost brother of Sydney and having kind of the most personal vendetta against Sydney, and then just the whole third act fight scenes and chase scenes and battles and just the killer coming back stronger than all the other ones because of his like bulletproof vests and shit. I think it's a pretty intense third act, and I do like elements of this Ghostface. I like the fact that he's the only one who's done it by himself. I like the fact that they at least try to do something to like tie back to the past. You know, the movie spends a little bit too much time, I think, focusing on Maureen Prescott when we never actually got introduced to that character, so we're not really that invested in it, but at least they tried to do something unique with the story, and I always can appreciate ambition and the attempt there. So it's a movie that I think is fun. I think it's entertaining, and it is not one of those films where if I go through the Scream franchise, I dread getting to that one. Like I have 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 in some of these other slasher franchises where I'm like, fuck, I gotta rewatch that one. So yeah, all in all, solid enough. Coming in at number 5, and man, it bums me out to say this, but for me, it's gonna be Scream 6. And my first watch, when I walked out of the theater, I was heavily debating whether or not I liked this less than Scream 3. I saw it a second time, I've kind of sat on it for a while and looked at the good, and I do think that the good things of Scream 6 outweighs the good things in Scream 3, even though I feel like the third act of this film is easily the messiest. So Scream 6, I love this cast of characters from Scream 5, the core 4. I really enjoyed the fact that we got the New York setting. I personally think that they utilized that setting well. There's a lot of people that do not agree with that. Respectfully disagree. I think that the subway sequence, the going across the ladder across the 2 windows, I think the Ghostface walking into an In-N-Out Mart, all the more public things going on, I enjoyed the setting. I feel like I got my money's worth with that. I like the fact that Ghostface is a little more brutal in this one, and this is the one where I think they actually do deliver on that, where they say, there's never been one like me, Gale, and I'm something different. And yeah, a little bit. You're a little bit more fucked up. You know, it's not so much the creativity of the kills, it's more the aftermath, it's more the gore effects, the actual visuals of the stabs and twisting the knife and pulling the knife up and shit like that. It's meaner. It's a lot meaner as far as the kills go. I think that the return of Kirby, while I was mixed on it at first, I still enjoy the fact that she comes back, and I like the fact that the movie has fun with the fact that we have not seen her since she was a teenager, and yet, as older people do, you always look at the younger characters or the younger people that you know as being kids, even when they're in their 30s. So I thought that was pretty enjoyable. I like the social commentary that they go into with this one, just like with Scream 5. As somebody that spends a lot of time working online in Scream 5 and in Scream 6, I'm like, yep, that's valid. Everything you're talking about right now, spot on. No bullshit. The first 2/3 of this film, I was almost positive that this was going to be my favorite Scream sequel. I was like, damn, this is really, really good. I am really entertained. I'm really impressed with some of the things that they're doing here. There's no way they can fuck this up, right? And before I get into my negatives, some of you that have not seen the film might find some of these details spoilerific. People, if you want to go see a movie, if you're that hyped for it, stop watching videos on it before you go see it. Leave us alone in the comment section for those of us that have to comment on the movie. We can't talk in fucking code. Rant over. Everything from the Ghostface reveal to the credits was just like one after another after another after another of weak writing, sloppy writing, absolutely ridiculous or stupid scene, absolute cop-out. I mean, it was just one after another of just my score going tick, 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 all the way down to what I eventually landed on, which was 3.5. And I actually think that's generous. That's just a testament to how much I enjoyed the other elements of the film. I was shocked. I was shocked and floored at how much this thing quite literally went off a cliff for me in the last 20 minutes. It was like they just handed the movie over to completely different creators in my mind. Unfortunately for me, I pegged something, both an identity and motivation of Ghostface pretty early on in the film. Identity I pegged within like 7 to 10 minutes, motivation maybe 5 minutes after that, and the fact that I was spot on really bummed me out. That takes the wind out of your sails with a whodunit when it's that easy to figure out, and I don't know if that's just me kind of getting more used to the rules of these films and I see through what they're trying to do, or just a testament to the writing of this new crew, because I had the same problem in Scream 5. When you get to the reveals, I felt the performance, the central performance of Ghostface just went off the rails and was absolutely cartoonish and ridiculous. There was moments throughout the third act where just logically things made absolutely no sense, and it was ridiculous to watch, like a killer running at somebody they're trying to kill with a loaded weapon. Rather than shooting, they run almost like they're gonna stab them with a gun. So many times throughout the entire movie, not just the third act, where Ghostface gets knocked down, and prime opportunity for a kill shot for the protagonist, or at least to damage the living hell out of Ghostface and stop them from chasing them, and they just keep running and keep running and keep running to the point where you can get away with that. It's a trope of slashers. You can get away with that a couple of times, but there's like 5 or 6 where you're like, okay, that's fucking dumb at this point. And unfortunately on rewatch, on my second watch, my score didn't necessarily drop, but there was 3 significant moments in this film that to me dropped all credibility and logic when you go back and watch the film knowing the identity of Ghostface, because it just makes absolutely no sense. Check out my spoiler review for what I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into it specifically here. But this is, to me, the sloppiest writing that we have ever got in this franchise. And there's some people out there that say, hey, it's just a slasher, I don't go for writing. Okay, you do you. I go to every movie for writing, whether it's a B movie or whether it's a AAA Oscar contender. I don't think that bad writing is something you excuse. And Scream films, if we're going to talk specifically about slashers and standards for slashers, I expect more from a Scream film than I would Friday the 13th, but maybe that's just a me thing. Nonetheless, I enjoyed the movie overall. On second watch, I enjoyed it overall. I'm debating on taking my kids to go see it because they love Scream and they've been clamoring for me to take them, so we'll see what a third watch does. But as of right now, massive disappointment. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Scream 4. Now, like I said earlier, these next 3, my number 4, number 3, number 2, are basically neck and neck for me. So it just depends on my mood when I watch them or something new that I pick up on when I rewatch them. And Scream 4 at one point was my number 2. Over time, some of the flaws of the film have started to grow for me and overtake some of the things that I love about this. I'll get the flaws out of the way first. The way that they shoot this, like the lighting or the color correction or like the sheen that they put on the picture, is just distracting as hell for me. It's almost like this muted lens flare type effect. It's the only movie in the franchise that is shot that way, and it was also directed by Wes Craven, so it's not like somebody came in and had this weird visual creativity thing. It's the same guy that did the first 3. So people called that out immediately, and I didn't really get that bothered by it, and every time I have rewatched it, it has bothered me more. I also think that the movie kind of really cops out by the end of it to where the things that I think Scream 5 really succeeds with, as far as like shepherding in these new characters, this new generation, and kind of waning down on the legacy characters, Scream 4 gives you the impression that it's going to do that, and then in the end it swaps that and kind of tries to subvert your expectation about how you don't fuck with the original. And I like that idea to a degree, but at the same time I think that it was kind of wasted potential back then. I also think that the third act of this film goes on for an absolute asinine amount of time. I think if this movie ended after Jill revealed her whole plan, killed Charlie, seemingly took out Neve Campbell, or at least almost mortally injured her, executed her plan, and she's getting wheeled out and everything came to fruition, they're all, spotlights and cameras and she's the new celebrity survivor. If the movie had the balls to end there, this would be my number 2, because that is what a Scream film needs at this point, is something different, some ending that is not the same exact Scooby-Doo reveal that we have gotten for now 6 films. But they go on. They go on to the hospital, and then she finds out that Neve Campbell's still alive, and so she tries to kill her inside of the hospital, and then she fucks up and lets Dewey and Gale realize that she's the killer, so now that she has to kill all three of them, and she just keeps going, and she seems to be dead from an electric shock to the fucking skull, and then comes back, and it's like, it's ridiculous at this point. It's ridiculous because her plan, there's no fucking possible way you're getting away with it at this point. What are you even still fighting for? You have lost. You fucked up. You're done. And it's also ridiculous because all three of the legacy characters survive again. And by that point, it was just like, okay, I love you guys, but come the fuck on. Beyond those things, I do think that Ghostface is a bit meaner in this one. There is a bit of ramped up gore. You know, there's a whole like guts spilling scene. That's the goriest thing we've gotten since the opening of the first Scream. I do like the killer reveals and the motivations of both. I actually think Jill was my number one when I ranked the ghost faces last time. I really enjoy some of the new cast here and some of playing on the new generations and the new cast of characters that are the film nerds, and you get characters like Kirby, who's one of my absolute favorites. That's kind of like the new Randy to a degree, where you thought Rory Culkin was kind of that character, but she ends up being more the new Randy, where she's the hot chick that also has all of the horror nerd personality. She's like both combined into one, and maybe it's just because I'm a movie nerd, that's like something awesome to witness. Is like that right there. That character is gold. The whole thing about Ghostface filming all of the murders and trying to like recreate and remake the first Scream, all of that stuff I thought was actually really clever. And for having like a 10, 11 year gap between Scream 3 and Scream 4, I thought Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson, everybody came back and actually delivered a pretty damn solid sequel to kind of get everybody back on track, you know, appeasing all of us fans that have been there since the beginning, while also doing some things that are new and hip for younger fans. And as I said numerous times at this point, all the movies in this franchise are solid. Scream 4, despite some pretty glaring issues that have grown for me over time, still a damn entertaining movie. Coming in at number 3 for me is going to be Scream 5. Why the fuck didn't you just call it Scream 5? Just retroactively go back and make the V red, like you did with 6. I know the meta thing about, we're talking about reboot-quels and how there's this stupid trend to where Halloween and Candyman and everybody else decided we're just going to just have the original title and not put a numeric thing. I get it, it still annoys me. Should it annoy me? I don't know, but it fucking does. This movie's grown quite a bit for me. I had a lot of serious issues with it when I first saw it. I still really enjoyed it, but my negatives kind of outweighed some of my positives. And maybe it's because I loved the cast in Scream 6, and so I've just grown to enjoy some of my positive of Scream 5 more because of that. But I think the movie does a damn commendable job at respecting what came before, kind of doing the Force Awakens thing where we're going to kind of recreate some of the classic elements of the first Scream while also doing a few things to push it to a new generation. The new cast of characters I really enjoyed. Even the ones that died in this one, I really enjoyed them as like the supplemental cannon fodder characters. I like the angle with Sam to where she's Billy Loomis's daughter and she's got a bit of a murderous edge to her. We see that even more in 6, but in 5, even I like that when she kind of turns the knife on the killers and just goes brutal with them. I think that, you know, I'm still kind of mixed on the utilization of the legacy characters, but I think that Dewey, this is easily the best that this franchise has done with him. This is the first movie where I was like, I love his character. I love what they're doing there. I think David Arquette's performance is the best in this one of the entire franchise. And I felt something when he died, where if you had killed him off in 4, I wouldn't have felt shit because he was just like the doofy sheriff character that, you know, the running gag with him was that he gets stabbed in almost every single one of them, but always walks away clean. I thought they did a damn good job with that death. And I thought it was fitting. I thought it was emotional. I thought that it had weight. Sydney and Gale, on the other hand, I feel like were kind of an afterthought. I feel like if you remove them from the movie entirely, I don't think that the third act of this film would change all that much. Of course, I want them to be there. I enjoy that they're there. But either the writing or their performances kind of felt a little bit more phoned in this one, where they're just like, okay, yet again, okay, I know the rules. Yeah, okay, I'm going to shoot here. I'm going to shoot here. And there's not really a whole lot of emotional weight to their ties to this story. And so to me, it was deliberately like, we're going to phase them out. They've had their time, and now we're going to focus on this new cast. And I think that they did that really well here. I wish they would have followed up with it a little bit better in Scream 6, but I think they did a good job. The only major negative that I have with this film that still really fucks with how high it goes on this list is just like with Scream 6, I thought that the killer was obvious. I thought that it, like, within 7 minutes, within 2 lines of this character speaking on screen, I was like, Spidey senses tingling, bitch. Ghostface. Also a couple other smaller things where like a few scenes didn't make any sense, where just like in Scream 6, much more so in Scream 6, they gotta kind of do some dumb logic shit to get a cool scene. Like I still think the whole thing about an entire floor of the hospital being shut down and exclusive to one person, I don't buy that. Again, maybe somebody works in a hospital, they're gonna tell me that that happens all the time, and fair enough, but just from my own experience, hospitals are always packed the fuck out even before COVID. And so them saying, we're just going to close off a whole floor so that you can have Ghostface attack somebody and nobody's going to fucking know it, doesn't quite work for me. But I really enjoyed this movie. I really enjoy this new generation of Scream films, and I'm crossing all my fingers and toes that Scream 7 kind of redeems some of my issues with Scream 6 and gets it back on track, because I genuinely love these new characters. Coming in at number 2 is Scream 2, and for a long time this was actually my number 1. It's not anymore, obviously hasn't been for a while. I do think that they do a good job at kind of ramping things up, not significantly, but you know, the budget, the stakes, the set pieces, just a little bit bigger than Scream 1. I like the college setting. I really love Sydney in this one, to where she's kind of battle hardened from the first film. You know, she still has some emotions and some fear and some PTSD with everything going on, but it's one of the reasons why I think she is possibly the greatest slasher final girl, is that she just doesn't take any shit. By the end of it, she's always the one coming out on top. She's badass. She always fucks up Ghostface, and I always buy it. I never really feel like they've jumped the shark with that, as much as I think some of the other characters have jumped that shark a couple of times. But I like the way that she is progressed in this movie as a character. I actually think that Dewey is much more interesting. This is my second favorite utilization of Dewey, where he's kind of fucked up and he's kind of got a bit of an edge to him. And when he gets stabbed in the back, if he had died there, I thought that that was pretty effective as a scene between him and Courtney Cox and their relationship. I like Gail a lot in this movie. This is probably my favorite version of Gail, where she's not completely bitch like she is in the first film. She's more a part of the three. She's more a friend to Sydney, and I think that she's awesome. I like all the supplementary characters that we get, from Mickey to Jerry O'Connell and Sarah Michelle Gellar. I think it's a really enjoyable cast. I really enjoy the Ghostface reveals here. And now it has some of the same issues that I have with Scream 6, but to me, I kind of enjoy it for what it does in Scream 2. Mickey's performance goes full cartoon, but I love it. Maybe it's because of the delivery of Timothy Olyphant. Maybe it's because of the things that he's discussing with, I'm going to blame the movies and that's going to be my motive. I'm going to get this big publicized trial. And I'm like, you know what? It's so crazy, it just might work. When you get Nancy Loomis that comes in, that, you know, the reporter character, I would say, was a little obvious that she was the killer, but her actual identity was not. And that made up for that. The fact that she was Billy's mother and all of that, and she's full on crazy. She's arguably the most batshit insane of any of the Ghostface reveals, just maniacal and just batshit wild. And so I love that. I love the performance of the actress. The only thing that holds this back for me a little bit is that I just don't think that the kills necessarily are as creative or as fresh or as effective as some of them are in the first film. For all those promises about we're ramping it up, more blood, more gore, as Randy says, is there really? I mean, aside from the cop getting impaled by the pole, which is kind of an accidental death, is it really gorier? I don't think so. And while I do love the Ghostface reveals, while I love the Scooby-Doo speeches and, you know, the whole monologues and everything like that, I do think it's a shame that we don't get more Timothy Olyphant throughout this film. It's one of the biggest things that people call out, where he just exits the movie about 30 minutes in and never comes back. And so for a lot of people, it was obvious for them, or, you know, the movie did go through a couple of rewrites because the script leaked. And so I think they just swapped characters with who was going to be Ghostface. And you can kind of feel that in the final product. But overall, this is a damn entertaining sequel that, for a movie that came out just about a year after the first film, and that was such a huge breath of fresh air, I think it did a pretty damn solid job at following that up. But of course, number one is Scream. Not a whole lot new to say here. This is a film that I did not immediately love. I actually was late to the party with Scream. I've told that story a million times. I'm not going to say it again here, but pretty funny little origins for my initial disdain for this franchise. And as I got into my 20s, I really started to revisit and get really into these movies and appreciate them for what they were. And it's become a slasher franchise that has steadily climbed up in my list of favorites. And this original film to me is the one that does it the best. It has aged the best. I still think that it has the best cast of characters. Of course, there's that initial freshness to it that the sequels, no matter how creative they get, can never completely recreate. The opening 5 to 7 minutes of this film is easily top 5, maybe even top 3 greatest openings to a horror film of all time. I think that Neve Campbell, while she's not full-on badass Sydney here, this is still a great origin for her, and she does become kind of a badass girl by the end of it, by like the last 10 minutes or so. Probably most people's favorite Ghostface reveals. I think pretty safe to say that. They're certainly among my favorites. And all the motivations and the way that they very cleverly, with the Kevin Williamson writing, kind of tie in movie tropes and movie obsession with the motivations of the killers and the way that they execute their plan. This was something that was just a huge breath of fresh air that quite literally saved slasher films in the 90s. And so, don't really have anything else to say beyond that. This is a movie that's been discussed ad nauseum, and nothing that I just said is anything original or fresh of a thought. So, easily for me, Scream, still number one, best of the franchise. Well, that's it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this, please click over here for a playlist of all of my Scream reviews. I'm also going to point you to my ranking of the ghost faces from last year. I don't know if I'm going to redo that video or not, but go check that out. Please like, share, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.